Why, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Walters Wanderings Travel Podcast. My name is Scott Walters, and today we will be discussing the world of river cruising. And it's a very interesting world, and actually a great way to see lots of places in Europe without having to unpack. And you have great access because, well, ports on river cruises are right downtown. And so you'll have easy access to get to many different places in the downtowns where you are cruising. And so we'll be talking with Bruce Metzendorf. He's from Riviera River Cruises. And even though it may not be a familiar name to you, and quite honestly, it was not a familiar name to me until about 3 or 4 months ago, I have become, rather immersed in the ways of the Riviera River Cruise Line and what they represent and the type of product they have. And I think it's a type of product that may be very good for most of you to at least consider. Because again, river cruising is a different animal than regular ocean cruising or even land travel. So we're waiting Bruce to come in, and I should let you know that if you do book a Riviera River Cruise with Walters Wanderings Travel, we will make sure that you can go ahead and be with us and get a nice discount. In fact, we're going to talk with Bruce in a minute about a specific cruise that we're working on, and that's for next June 5th to 12th on the Danube, round trip from Budapest. And it's going to be a great cruise, and I'm going to be on it, and I hope that you will join me on that cruise. So without further ado, Bruce Metzendorf from Riviera River Cruises, thank you for hopping on board the Walters Wandering Travel Podcast.
Hi, I'm not sure why my camera's not displaying there.
Well, you can try and fix that in time, but trust me,
Yes.
you are a handsome fool, and so that's okay. Again, thank you for hopping on. And again,
Yeah.
I guess we should start sort of at the beginning because, again, compared to maybe some other cruise lines, there you are, some other cruise lines out there of the river cruise variety, Riviera may not have all the name brand recognition, but it doesn't mean that they're not a major player when it comes to river cruises. So let's talk about the history of Riviera, what kind of places Riviera goes to, and about some of the ships that Riviera has on the various rivers in Europe.
So, Riviera is, again, not a household name here, but we actually are the number one river cruise line in the UK market. We've been around actually for just about 40 years now. Again, started as an outbound escorted tour operator in the UK market. Back then with the first tours down to the French Riviera, and that name kind of stuck from there. And then we started river cruising 15 years ago. So we are not new to the European rivers, but we only launched here in North America just about 6 years ago. And in that time, we've become well-known within the travel professional industry guy side of it, but we only work with our favorite partners because they can do it better than most of us can. So that's why we only work with our partner travel advisors. We have wonderful ships, going to be 12 ships in Europe starting in 24 with very unique itineraries. We do it differently, I guess I can say. We enhance the experience to make it better for you. So in that regard, because you can't build new rivers. So what we do is we change up our itinerary some and add more experiences so it's better for you.
Well, I did notice when I was looking at some of the research materials that indeed, there are a lot of immersive qualities to the Riviera River Cruise experience. And I think that's really important, especially for people who, again, when it comes to cruising, whether it's river cruises or ocean cruises, I like to say that you're getting like a morsel of each city that you go to. And then later on, if you can file it in your head, okay, I really want to see more and experience more of this place, then you can go ahead and do something more lengthy in time. And I think it's really important to note that, that with the Riviera River Cruises model, you do get to get the morsels, but they're really tasty morsels. And like on the cruise that we'll be discussing later in June of next year that I'm on, there's actually is an overnight in Budapest, which is very convenient and very helpful because, again, you can enjoy the nightlife as well as the day life of the city. So let's talk about some of the places that Riviera goes to and some of the more popular itineraries that people tend to go on with regularity.
Well, the one that you happen to be traveling is probably one of our most popular cruises. It's the Blue Danube. It's round trip Budapest, and you mentioned that overnight on that last night, which is phenomenal. And most people actually tend to extend a little bit, either before or after in Budapest, because it is such a wonderful city. The other more popular cruises are our Rhine cruise to Switzerland, and also our Paris Normandy cruise, especially for this coming year, because it'll be the 80th anniversary of D-Day, where we'll be running our regular scheduled itineraries weekly. We also have a new 10-night itinerary. That's on the Seine that goes Paris and Normandy. We'll go to up in the Normandy area. We go to the American beaches and cemeteries. So there's a lot that more modern history, so to speak, with a lot of older history as well, with some of the beautiful towns that we pass along the way and on the return. And also one of our more popular cruises is the Douro River in Portugal. And that's very popular. We currently have 2 ships that do that itinerary. And we actually are adding a 3rd ship this summer on the Douro as well. So very popular cruise, especially for our UK market, but more and more especially for the North American market coming here out of the US, because Portugal's hot, as they say.
Yes, so, it really is.
It's still a great value to be in Europe. Things are a little less expensive, but the cruise and what we do and some of the extra added things that we are included make it really a wonderful experience. And then you might want to spend time going down to Lisbon and spending some time there, or more into the heart of the country, or maybe down to the Algarve, which is down at the bottom of the Atlantic coast, where as it heads into the Mediterranean.
Well, all I know is I do know that Portugal is a very up and coming destination. I also know that getting to Lisbon by plane is actually a little bit less time than going into some other places by plane. And I also know that the food and drink of Portugal is really it's highly underrated. And I know that from having gone to Portuguese restaurants in Newark, New Jersey, because there's a Portuguese population there, that the food is actually quite good and authentically made. And I think that's where I want to steer next. Oh, one more itinerary that you didn't mention that I think is really one that should be would be the Christmas markets, because those are seasonal, and
right.
and you book now for 2024 Christmas markets, you'll get better pricing than if you waited until June of next year. Plus, also if you wait till June of next year, they'll be sold out. Let's talk a minute about the Christmas markets and what they encompass.
Well, that's just one of our seasonal type cruises. We have 2 different Christmas markets. We run on the Rhine River, and we also run on the Danube. The one on the Rhine, and we do them shorter. We're very unique in that market as well, because we do shorter cruises on the Christmas markets, not the 7-nighters that most people are used to. So, and we do that for a reason. They were originally designed for our UK market, to fly over and see the markets and have a nice cruise and then fly back. But so on our Rhine cruise, it's a 4-night round trip Cologne, and our Danube cruise is a 5-night round trip Budapest.
So, and again, the Christmas markets are really unique. They basically take over the town square in different cities, and you can buy any variety of things. So you have an empty suitcase with you when you go, so you can fill it up for the way back, because indeed you will buy many things, and actually the pricing is generally, even though some of these places you might think there's not any kind of a room to haggle or bargain. Anywhere where you have this kind of outdoor kind of marketplace, in Europe more than so than the U.S., you definitely can haggle and you can get bargains. I've done it in Florence,
Yeah.
I got an $80 tie for $6. I've done it in other
So,
places.
yeah,
So you can go
I
ahead
will say,
and you can grab some bargains, and again, bring an extra suitcase. And with 5 and 6 night itineraries, you can extend those with pre and post cruise stays. So you can still have
exactly.
a regular length vacation.
Right. So you can extend over and maybe go back to Vienna, or you can from Cologne, you could go up to Amsterdam or come down to Frankfurt. So there's a lot of different opportunities with that. And I'll tell you, the market is not just about the shopping. It's about the food and the wine, or the Glühwein, which is the hot spiced wine that you can walk around, and the beer. And it's about the festivities and the season. They're a lot of fun. Yes, there's shopping, and it's mostly things that are going to be related to the holidays and ornaments and things. But you'll find other stuff like hats and anything else, and toys as well. But I'll be honest, it's about just walking around and being with the people and being in the festivities of the season. That's really what makes it really a wonderful experience.
Yeah, they're great fun. And it's actually, Christmas markets is something that they should have more of here in the U.S. But that's just
Yeah.
me opining here. Now let's talk about when you book the Riviera River Cruise with me. What are the inclusions that people will expect to get when they go cruising on the Riviera River Cruise?
So just as a point, river cruising is a lot different than ocean cruising. So if you've done that in the past, think everything you know about ocean cruising and throw it out the window. So river cruising on our largest ship, we have a maximum of 165 guests. So a lot less than the average of 3,000 guests that you might find on some of the larger ships. And there are more inclusions. So on Riviera, of course, all your meals are included. Your a la carte restaurant's included. Your daily excursions are included. So, and we also include beer, wine, soda, juices at lunch, and from 6 p.m. to midnight, it will be basically open bar. I mean, there's a couple things that would be additional, but basically open bar from 6 p.m. to midnight in the restaurant and the lounge. So you have a lot of options and opportunity to enjoy yourself while you're cruising with us. There are other amenities on board the ship, and there's like bikes that you can go and take out on your own. There's no charge for that. We do have some of the other things, like we have a spa or massage studio. We have hair and nail salon. We have a fitness room to get a little exercise. All our ships have some kind of water element, kind of like a plunge pool. And even during the Christmas markets or the height of the summer, or off season, it's heated, so you can grab a glass of wine and go up with your robe from your stateroom and hop in and have that little cocktail and watch the river go by. Beautiful deck furniture, and the rooms are very well appointed too. So you'll have beautiful staterooms, in-suite bathrooms, of course, refrigerators, coffee maker and tea makers in the staterooms. So again, a lot of amenities and extras you might not find with other river cruise lines. So just a good assortment of amenities and service levels that are extremely high when you're with Riviera.
Well, I think that the couple of main takeaways here are, number one, the inclusions of all the meals. And we'll talk about the excursions in a second, but all the meals is always a big draw. Obviously, beer, wine, and soda and such during the day, and then open bar with the exceptions of the high-end cognacs and high-end single blend scotches, perhaps. In the evening. Obviously, there's going to be some entertainment on board.
Yep.
You're going to, and the other thing is, when you have 165 or less people on a cruise, you're going to get really personalized attention. I took a cruise this summer, and there are 5,000 people on board the ship I was on, and the amount of personalized attention was only proportional to the amount you paid to be on the cruise. If you were in a regular cabin on that cruise, you would not get the same attention as if you were in a more rarefied air type situation, which I fortunately was able to be in. But here, everyone's sort of treated equally, more or less. I mean, yeah, some people will have a balcony, some people won't, but those are just small things. But everyone, when you have only 165 or less, you're going to be treated on a more equal basis, and people will get to know your name really quickly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And again, we fall into the top end of the premium market, just below luxury, but our price point is probably about 20% less than what you're going to find in of our closest competitor.
And that's important. That's important too. Now let's talk about the excursions. Now you say there's an excursion included in every port of call. Just explain kind of how that works.
So when you're, just to take that back, because when you're on an ocean ship and you come into port and you've got to get off and walk and get onto excursion bus or touring, or even just to get to the main part of town to walk around. So when you're on a river ship, you're really pulling into the heart of these towns and villages or cities that we're visiting. So it really makes that difference because you're just walking off and you're right there. So our tours that will be included are going to give you the best features and highlights of that town or city that we're visiting, as well as giving you free time to go and explore things on your own. So we'll include that excursion, and it could be a walking tour, some bus tour, or a combination of both. But again, it's all included with every day. There's an included excursion. We also will customize anything for you. So if you've heard about a museum you want to see, or a winery, or or castle or palace that you want to go visit, we'll set that up for you. The only charge would be if there's a transfer cost or if there's a entrance fee, where other cruise lines will actually charge you just to start setting it up. So we'll do that for you on board the ship without issue.
Well, and then mark me down for a couple of those, because I know there are a couple of places I do want to see that may not be necessarily on the actual excursion. The other thing about those excursions, though, the excursions are generally half a day, which means you're back on board the ship for a late lunch, and then you can go back out to walk around and maybe do some shopping or people watching, and then come back in time before the ship departs for the next port. Right. I think that's also important to note.
Exactly. So, I mean, but it's up to you whether you want to come back to the ship or you want to stay in town and have lunch there. It may not be included, but again, that's up to you. Depending on where you're cruising. Again, most of the time the ship is right there to come back to. There are other places like in Vienna that would require the bus transfer to do that, because where they ship's port, they are not close to the old town. But that's the only.
That's just the way it goes.
That's pretty much the only one.
Well, that's not bad then. Now, let's talk for a few minutes about the Danube cruise that I'll be going on. This is June 5th to June 12th of 2024. Again, it's a round trip from Budapest, and it goes to several very interesting towns and cities along the way. It goes to, let's see if I can pronounce this one right, Esztergom.
Esztergom.
I was close.
Yeah.
Also Bratislava, Dornstein, Melk. Then it goes to Linz and Salzburg. You get to choose which one you want to do.
Yep.
Vienna, and then back to Budapest, where you are there for a whole overnight before you're sadly kicked off the ship to go on the way. So let's talk about some of these ports on the way here, and talk about the ship that will be on June the 5th.
I don't recall the ship that you're on. I think
it's Thomas Hardy.
Thomas Hardy. Okay. So Thomas Hardy is a 135 meter ship, or 443 feet. Yes, it maxes out at 165 guests. You'll get the ship right in the heart on the river, right in the heart of Budapest, where there's a beautiful walking esplanade there as well, right near where you'll be. You'll be on the Pest side, because keep in mind Budapest used to be two different cities. So there's the Buda side, which is the high side, and a good way to remember that is Scott, you're like me. I know you got that little belly, so you got the high side with the Buda belly, and then on the low side of the flat, and the low side of the flat side is the Pest side. So you pick up the ship right on the Pest side. You'll board. You'll have dinner in the afternoon, and we'll have dinner on board the ship, and then we'll leave overnight, and we'll arrive the next day in Esztergom. Now, Esztergom is a wonderful small little town, and it is on one side is it is in Hungary over there, and it is or used to be the capital of the religious seat, or still is the capital of the religious seat of Hungary. So you'll have an opportunity to see the church there with a small tour of the village or the town or the city, and some time to walk around as well. From Esztergom, we overnight again cruising, and we arrive in
Bratislava.
Bratislava, thank you. Now, Bratislava is the capital of Slovakia. So keep in mind, back in the 70s or early 80s, before the country split, it was Czechoslovakia. So now you have two countries, Czech Republic and Slovakia, and Bratislava being the capital of Slovakia. And they're all on great terms. It's all good. There's no animosity there between the two countries. Bratislava happens to be, and just as a point, Vienna are the two closest world capitals in the world. They're not that far from each other. In fact, a lot of people will fly into the Vienna airport who live in the Bratislava area. But there is an airport there as well. And you'll have a tour of the town. Again, free time to walk around. There are some unique different sculptures that are built into the street, cobblestones. And most of this is in the old town areas of these cities. Bratislava also is right across the river or Slovakia is, if you look at the other side, is still Hungary. And then not far from that is the border of Austria. And then we leave in the afternoon and we continue the cruise. We actually bypass on the way out. We go past Vienna in the evening, and we arrive the next morning in
Dürnstein.
And Dürnstein, you've got a walk around and as well. And then in the afternoon, after lunch, we'll go to Melk, and also the beautiful Melk Abbey. And if you've got opportunity, you can actually go up into the very top of that. It is very picturesque, beautiful to see. Also in Dürnstein, there's the castle there that you'll find, beautiful gardens that we'll walk around. Now, I do have some people, if you're adventurous enough, that will actually take some bikes and they'll actually get on the bikes in Dürnstein and ride to Melk and pick up the ship there. It's about 30 kilometers, so it's not too bad. But again, depending on how adventurous you are, and then you'll make it back on time for lunch if you like.
If it's not too hilly, maybe I'll give it a go.
Well, it's flat along the river, but it's obviously the river is going the opposite direction. But it's a very, very, it's not. You wouldn't notice the incline is in that.
Well, that's good, because I'm not a fan of going uphill. Downhill, I can do that all day.
Right. So you wouldn't even notice the uphill, to be honest. And then after that, we cruise overnight and we arrive in Linz. Now, there is a tour included of Linz, and if you want to stay local, that's fine. But I will tell you that we have an included tour to Salzburg. Other cruise lines, it may be an additional cost to do that optional tour to Salzburg. Our tour to Salzburg is included. So the buses will arrive and we'll drive about an hour or so, hour and 10 minutes. We'll do a little comfort stop, as they say. We can, for about a half hour, 40 minutes, so you can certainly use the facilities, and they have great hot chocolate there. So at this rest stop. So that's, I don't care what you do, but if you like hot chocolate, that's the place to get it. And then we continue on and arrive in Salzburg. We have a complete tour of Salzburg. And then we have an afternoon on your own, whether you took a bagged lunch from the ship or you want to eat in a local cafe. If you want to do an option of going up to the Salzburg Castle or just walk around town, it is absolutely beautiful in this old town area. It really is pretty. I love going to Salzburg. There's a lot to see and do in different quarters and always something going on there. So I would,
I stayed in Salzburg years ago, and it's truly a remarkable town. And music fills the air from every single corner. It's really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just Mozart, although obviously he's a big draw. It's also the Sound of Music is a big draw, but
it's definitely a big draw. I didn't want to give it all away, but yes, that's where the Sound of Music was filmed. Obviously, Mozart coming from there or spent time. There's actually wonderful. There's stores that have what they call Mozart balls or chocolates that you want to pick them up and bring home.
I've had that. I've had the Mozart liqueur. I'm definitely all in on all of that. There's no doubt. So then
but you will actually see.
Go ahead.
You'll see scenes, or they'll point out areas if you ask where they actually filmed the movie The Sound of Music. Now, funny enough, the people from Salzburg are not familiar with the movie Sound of Music. So only the tour guides are aware of it because the Americans are, it's one of a lot of people's favorite movie. So that's something I always say that, great thing to see and do while you're there. And that's part of the tour as you walk by a lot of the places that you can see where the movie was filmed. We head back to Linz and then we'll head out in the late afternoon, early evening again. At dinner time as we head and come to Vienna the next day. We spend all of day in Vienna, which is beautiful. We'll have a morning tour of Vienna. We'll bus in. We'll have different groups walking around the heart of the old town, the palaces. We'll see the Lippens of Stallions. You could do an optional and go in and watch them rehearse. Lots of cafes in that area, shopping. Plus, if you want to do an option to head out to one of the palaces that are there, that's available. So much to do in Vienna. And then because we have all afternoon, whether you want to go back to the ship and have lunch and come back out, because the buses will continue to run, or if you want to eat in a cafe there and be like a local, because that's my favorite thing to do, just watch the people in the town square. And then we come back to dinner back to the ship for dinner in the late afternoon, which is very nice. But the special that evening, because we do have entertainment every night on board the ship, light entertainment, whether it's a piano player or trivia or DJ. In Vienna, we bring on a string quartet to play for you because Vienna is known for its music. So they have a wonderful string quartet to play on board ship for you after dinner. And when they're done, we head out and we cruise overnight and we arrive back in Budapest the next day, midday, just about lunchtime. So you'll be cruising in the morning as well and seeing the sights of the river. So it's very picturesque as we come back into Budapest. One thing to note, when we leave Budapest, also, and I know this is a feature, make sure you're up on deck because we're going to go right by the Parliament building with all its lights, and it's absolutely spectacular.
All of my friends and travel colleagues and clients who have been to Budapest, they always you always see pictures of that. So it's almost like people in New York when they pass the Statue of Liberty on the way out from New York.
Right.
It's kind of.
I would like to, if I could show my screen, but I tried to, and I don't know if that'll work. But it's absolutely beautiful to see the Parliament building as you're leaving Budapest, and then certainly during the day when we're arriving. We'll have an afternoon tour of Budapest, Buda and Pest. Again, a combination of walking and busing. And it's just beautiful. It's one of my favorite cities in Europe. It is absolutely spectacular, clean, people friendly, and right in the heart of the city. Some great shopping. There's the main market that's very close to where the ship ports. A lot of food downstairs where they have all the food stalls, but for people to take home, not prepared foods necessarily. But upstairs, if you're into lace, they have all these great linens, tablecloths, runners, napkins. Every time I go there, whether I'm with my wife or not, I have to buy stuff, and I have her on the phone with me, FaceTiming. How about this, honey? Is this good or is this good? So I wound up having to bring that stuff home with me because she likes all that. And then we overnight in Vienna, in Budapest. Also in Budapest, we'll bring a folklore show on the evening, and then you can head out and go do some stuff in the evening if you want to go late night and go out and experience Budapest. The ruins bars that are open. If you're again likely to, yes, it's more maybe a younger crowd, but it's definitely things to experience. There's other tours that you can do or go visit and see, especially if you're extending for a couple of days after, which I would recommend. Certainly, again, as I said, pre and post in Budapest is just spectacular.
Well, I think it gives anyone who wants to go a really good taste of what that particular part of the world is like. And I think that's really the most important. And it's a combination of, larger cities and smaller towns. And each one, of course, has its own kind of charm. Each one has its own kind of specialties. both culturally, historically, and culinarily. And I think it's really important. And by the way, if anyone mentions this podcast, this edition of the Walter's Wandering Travel Podcast, if you book that June 5th to June 12th cruise on the Danube, I'll give everyone $100 off. So if you're coming as a couple, you'll get $200 in your pocket, as it were, to use while you're on the cruise. And obviously, with all the inclusions from Riviera River Cruises, that'll be all of your souvenirs and your cafe stops and whatever else you do. And again, there's certainly a lot of there's enough free time to do that, as well as enjoy all the different parts of the different countries we'll be visiting. So I look forward to that. So I really appreciate you talking about Riviera River Cruises and what the whole deal with it, because again, even though it's not a big name here like other river cruise lines are, it definitely has a place for people to use, and then there's certainly many places you can travel. Obviously, we got the France thing. You can go to Amsterdam. You can go Amsterdam Low Countries. You can go to the Douro. You can do the Rhine, the Rhone, and also the Danube. So there's many opportunities, and cruises from lengths of 4 to 15 days. So you can sort of pick your slot and pick your price point. And again, I'm happy to help get everyone on board. Let's have a big American presence on that June 5th cruise. That'll be and listen, we don't have to tell the British people that we beat them twice. Okay, we don't have to do that. Don't do that.
And you know what, Scott? Not that I don't think I might probably can't join you, but June 5th is my birthday, so it's got to be a special cruise.
So there we go. So and listen, and if Bruce comes along too, that's an extra bonus. But he has to sort his own schedule out, and we get that. So again, thank you, Bruce Metzendorf from Riviera River Cruises. I really appreciate you being on board. And again, I want to thank everyone for out there for listening and being part of this edition of the Walter's Wanderings Travel Podcast. We will check out another edition soon. So everyone take care and have a great day.